What's up, everybody? If you want to join the greatest online Star Wars community, the Fandom Menace, make sure you hit that subscribe button before today's video starts, so you don't miss out on any updates and you're always the first to know when our newest videos go live.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Remember the end of National Lampoon's Vacation, where the Griswold family finally reaches Wally World? Remember when all of Clark's hopes and dreams for the perfect family vacation were crushed in an instant when the moose out front told him? Remember what Clark did? He bought a BB gun, held guards hostage, and got his fun day at the park. Sort of. That's how I felt when I saw the trailer for the new Avengers game. While I won't do what Clark did because it was a movie and I'm not an idiot, I'm equally disappointed with what we're getting because the fans are owed an epic game worthy of the Avengers name. Instead, we're getting the Kmart brand equivalent. Side note for our international listeners. Kmart was, and I stress was, a very generic store, a lower-class Walmart, that doesn't really exist anymore. Sure, there are a few, but if you want a depressing reminder of a failed retail brand, search one out and feel better about your life. But back to this game. The trailer, which was released at E3, was met with a resounding meh, as the general topic of discussion was how ugly the Avengers look. On Twitter, people are ripping the game apart, others with disappointment at the lack of Hawkeye. No matter their level or disappointment, their message was the same. Who are these imposters? Gary Whitta, the writer of Rogue One, sent out a tweet which read, "The problem for me, at least, with that Avengers game trailer is that for the past 10 years, the MCU actors have become synonymous with those characters that any on-screen version that isn't them just kind of feels fake. Coming right off the back of Endgame doesn't help." I agree with Gary that some people may feel this way, and rightly so. It's like the creators of this game were trying to evoke the feelings of the 2012 cast with 1/1000th of the budget. For me, the problem isn't that they don't look like their on-screen counterparts. The problem is that they're
real fucking ugly.
If you downgrade their level of attractiveness any further, we'd be looking at a potato. Now, I'm a long-time comic book fan. When you say a character, I don't think in actors, I think in artists. John Romita's Spider-Man, John Byrne's X-Men, and when it's Batman, it's usually the animated series. The Avengers games suffer from the same thing that a lot of superhero games face. Over-engineered designs. This won't be a popular opinion, but the Arkham game started this trend of overdoing it in the design department. In terms of gameplay, story, and all-around experience, the games are great, nearly perfect. But I hate the art. Too big, too bulky, too much. This Avengers game is guilty of that. Let's look at Captain America. Ugh. His suit makes him look like a spray-painted riot cop. Iron Man looks weird. It's like they wanted to model the suit after a few of the movie versions, but didn't, and the end result is just nothing special. Designs aside, where this game really suffers is the character models. Black Widow just screams, "Look at me." She's one part Captain Janeway and 2 parts a mistake. Now I know they can't make her look like ScarJo, and ScarJo is a 10, but they could at least make her look like a woman. The guys suffer the same fate too. Thor looks like he's wearing a fake beard, and Tony Stark looks like a surfer dude. It's like the developers were on a mission to make every possible mistake when designing this game. What bothers me the most is that this game will be released in a post-PS4 Spider-Man world. Not only was that game amazing, it looked spectacular. Here are a few screenshots of Spider-Man from PS4, and at times, the game borders on real, especially the Raimi suit, which was the highlight of the alternate costumes. Avengers looks so bad in comparison that it's not even funny. Well, it's actually funny, but I digress. Video games are more than graphics. Some of the greatest games of all times are from previous generation, whose graphics pale in comparison to modern offerings, and some of today's most engaging games come from indie developers. Gameplay is vital to a game's success, and, well, IGN got to see the game in action, and it sounds average. Marvel's Avengers, our reaction to 25 minutes of gameplay. Square Enix showed off Marvel's Avengers on its E3 2019 stage, but the footage only offered a brief glimpse of actual gameplay. IGN attended a behind-closed-doors extended gameplay demo where we got a much better look via 25 minutes of honest-to-goodness Marvel's Avengers gameplay. The demo started off the same way as the E3 footage, with an attack on the Golden Gate Bridge during the A-Day celebration. While we weren't told if this was the opening of the game, we can assume it's the beginning, or at least early on. It felt very much like a tutorial area, as there was little time spent on controlling each hero. Gameplay automatically switched from one Avenger to the next as events of the story dictated. Here's a description of what it's like to play as each Avenger. First, you take control of Thor, landing on the bridge, starting to fight off the armed goons. His combat style is reminiscent of Kratos from God of War on PS4. Thor can bash foes with Mjolnir, throw the hammer to pin enemies down, indulge in some hand-to-hand combat, then summon the hammer back mid-combo to keep bringing the pain and the lightning. Thor looks like a true powerhouse with a wide array of abilities that make satisfying use of Mjolnir and his immense strength. It's worth noting that it wasn't shown whether this version of Thor can fly or not. Iron Man, on the other hand, can fly. At least sort of. Gameplay transitioned to Iron Man, and you're immediately put on rails as you chase some jetpack-powered enemies through the air. Not the most thrilling way to take control of the high-flying Avenger. Hulk's gameplay was less about combos and more about crudely smacking away enemies, like they're nothing more than action figures. He can even pick up enemies and use them as melee weapons, or just chuck them like a projectile. Hulk's movements, on the other hand, are all about momentum. As the bridge begins to collapse, Hulk is forced to jump from one impromptu platform to another, occasionally wall running to build up speed and launch himself further into the air, culminating with the landing of a group of enemies with a resounding smash. Hulk's section had the most pure sense of fun and was the most surprising as it turned the Jade Giant into the thick, green Prince of Persia. The setting then switches to the helicarrier where Captain America is attacked by more goons. His combat looks like the system from the Batman Arkham games and Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4, with lots of quick, brutal attacks that send him bouncing across the room from enemy to enemy. There was, of course, lots of shield tossing, but it was unclear how much control you're given over where it goes, or how it travels once it leaves Cap's hands. The final leg of the demo sees control switch to Black Widow as she confronts the level boss, Taskmaster. It kicks off with Black Widow jumping on Taskmaster and being taken on a wild ride as the bridge begins to explode, and chaos ensues as other Avengers appear in the nick of time to catch a falling bus of people and otherwise help avert disaster. All the while, a quick time event has Black Widow pummeling Taskmaster and dodging his attacks. This was the Battle of New York moment, where the Avengers are shown in action in one shot, truly selling that this game will give you the experience of essentially playing through an Avengers movie. Instead of this action-packed sequence happening organically through gameplay, you're more along for the heavily scripted ride, occasionally pressing a button. After watching someone play as the most powerful Avengers with an arsenal of crazy, awesome abilities, it did feel a tad anticlimactic to finish off with one hero who's just a normal person, even one as cool as Black Widow with her assortment of gadgets. While the graphics during combat were pristine, the brief cutscenes didn't seem as polished. Thor's hair looked especially strange when it blowing in the wind, and the team banter wasn't especially funny or memorable. Thor in particular sticks out like a sore thumb because he very much speaks in the original Chris Hemsworth cadence from before the engaging and hilarious Ragnarok reinvention of the character. Although this is of course a demo of a still-in-progress game that won't be released for almost a year, so in theory there's still plenty of time for some of these things to get smoothed over. While Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man were each distinct enough that they felt almost like characters from entirely different games, Cap and Widow were understandably a bit similar in feel, given that they're all about melee combat with no eye-popping superpowers to speak of. Still, it was an eventful good time watching Avengers respond to a supervillain attack and do what they do best. No insight was given on what kind of game this will be beyond the demo, so we'll have to wait and see for details on what progression, customization, and other elements will look like, but as far as this demo is concerned, the initial gameplay looks solid despite some obvious shortcomings. I'm hoping that this game will be incredible, but from what I've seen and read, the best word to describe the game would be basic. The game won't be out for about a year, but I don't believe that'll be enough time to fix the ugly characters. If you like the way this game looks, hey, more power to you. But me, the game trips over itself and looks bad. It really sucks that the next Marvel game looks so bad. Oh wait, this isn't the next Marvel game. Also at E3, we got a more in-depth look at Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and it looks awesome. Tons of characters, alternate costumes, Magneto with an Infinity Stone. The game looks insane. The only thing the Avengers game has over this is no Captain Marvel. Quick side note, friends. Here's the original art for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Notice how prominent Captain Marvel is. She looks like the main star of the game. Now here's redesigned box art, and while she's still there, she's far less prominent, with Wolverine and Spider-Man being the most visible. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. The game looks like a lot of fun. This game screams the entire Marvel Universe, while the Avengers game screams MCU, but when we only had 8 characters. To jump back to Gary Whitta's tweet, this is a post-Endgame world, and we've seen 40 plus superheroes on screen at once, fighting alongside each other, and in comparison, Avengers the game feels anemic. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 blows the character selection out of the water. The stylized graphics are kind of incredible, and the gameplay seems less restricted than Avengers. Some would say this is an apple to oranges comparison, but I disagree. They're both Marvel games that feature the same characters, Avengers at least. But one, Ultimate Alliance 3, includes the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and a whole lot more. Even the redundant Miles Morales is available to play. This is all good for the fans. The countdown is on for the Avengers on PS4, which drops next May. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which is a Switch exclusive, is out in July. I hope the graphics are overhauled for the gameplay, which admittedly we don't know a whole hell of a lot about. But I want it to be tight and worthy of a game bearing the Avengers name. Time will tell. I want to be wowed, but for the right reasons, not because the Avengers look like digital cosplayers. So that's it for today, folks. Today's video was a little short, but I wanted to get something out because I really wanted to talk about this game. Because I stopped what I was doing to watch this trailer, and it just struck me that this looks awful. Now, maybe because I'm an artist and I have an eye for detail of certain things, or I look for certain things, I have an idea of what superheroes should look like. And this game just doesn't meet that expectation. Now, I don't think I have unrealistic expectations. I don't need these to look exactly like the actors. Hell, they don't have to look anything like the actors. But I think they should at least look human and heroic. Maybe it's the hair, something about the actors they chose to model these characters after. There's just something off about all of them. It's not one. It's everyone except the Hulk as the Hulk. Even Bruce Banner looks a little funky. I'm not sold just on the designs, but time will tell. And as I said in the video proper, I do not think they will have time to edit the graphics. This is how the game will look. I don't like the costumes, I don't like the characters, but if the game's amazing, well, I'll get over it, just like I did the Arkham games. Now, thankfully, Arkham Knight, which some hate because of the Batmobile gameplay, well, I like that game a lot because I get to live out a fantasy of mine. I got to play as Batman, dressed like Michael Keaton, voiced by Kevin Conroy, and once I got past a certain point in the game, I got to drive that Tim Burton Batmobile. And that, to me, was the perfect landscape to play as Batman. Maybe the Avengers will give us the MCU costumes. Maybe we'll be able to switch out of those ugly-ass suits. I really hope so. But at the same time, I really, really hope that they can do something about the hair and the facial structure of these people. Now, Spider-Man that was out last year didn't suffer those problems. They had an alternate suit, which I didn't like, the one with the white spider. That was a different representation of the character, but the first suit they gave you to play as was damn near perfect. One of the best looking Spider-Mans ever. The gameplay was incredible, the story was incredible, the guy who played Peter Parker, voice-wise, did a great job, loved it. It all fit the character. It was probably the best representation of Spider-Man we've ever had. It was true to the comics, it was true to some other media adaptations of the character, and at the end of the day, we got this great package, a great game with great DLC, and I still play it almost a year after it's been out. It is my favorite Spider-Man game. It is one of my favorite PS4 games. It is my favorite PlayStation 4 game. And I loved Grand Theft Auto 5. I loved a ton of great games that were on the system, but Spider-Man, best superhero game ever made. And because I feel so strongly about that game, maybe my standards are incredibly high, but I don't think having high standards is a bad thing, especially in a world where there's a video game out every week that's vying for your attention. Be it big budget release or independent title, these games have to be worthwhile to you and to me. And right now, Avengers looks broken. I wouldn't be surprised if the game got delayed. I think it should get delayed. But can it be delayed? Now, there was this rumored and eventually confirmed but canceled Marvel Avengers game that was supposed to be out way back in, I believe, 2012 when the first Avengers movie came out. And it sounds cool. I believe Unseen 64 or Did You Know Gaming or one of these YouTube channels has a video series that has footage from that game. It was in first person, but it worked. And it's funny, since we've gotten through Endgame and I've gone back to watch some of the older MCU flicks and I'm kind of nostalgic for the first Avengers, you'd think that a game that evokes that feeling of the first Avengers would really hit me in the feels and get me invested. I'm just not. But I don't want to rain on your parade if you like it. This is not Dark Phoenix territory where the game's going to be a dumpster fire. We don't know yet. We'll find out. And I'll be paying close attention, and I'll be talking about it here on the channel every once in a while, depending on how this video does. So if you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it all over social media. If you're a fan of this channel and you want more of us, the Fandom Menace, check out World Class Bullshitters on Patreon. $1 a month helps, but $5 gives you all kinds of exclusive content. Like Mother. Yeah, we did a commentary for Mother the other night, and that is up on Patreon as we speak. It was a movie so bad that I honestly passed out in the middle of it. I don't know what happened. Like, I'll talk about this at a later date again, but I'm watching Mother, it's bad, and all of a sudden, I'm out. And I'm fading through the movie, I'm here, I'm there, and then the movie's over, and you can hear me kind of just come back to life as soon as those end credits roll. It's like I was put under a spell for just, I guess, an hour as I skipped the second half of this movie mentally. I'm there, I talk, but I don't remember any of it. So maybe I was abducted by aliens or something midway through the movie, who knows. But the movie was shit, and if you want to hear us talk about it, well, now then join our Patreon page. But there's more than that. There's commentaries for Star Wars movies, superhero flicks. We got like Superman, Batman 89, Wonder Woman, all kinds of stuff. I believe a Justice League commentaries over there. We have every James Bond movie up through A View to a Kill, so I think that's the 13th or 14th James Bond flick. Maybe that's the 15th. Huh. Maybe that is the 15th. Anyway, I digress. My point is, there's a ton of stuff on there. So check that out, join that, get invested, get the extra podcast every week, and a whole lot more. I'll be back next time with more, and tonight, by the time this video goes live, tonight will be World Class Bullshitters, episode 177, I believe. And it's going to be a lot of fun, so you don't want to miss that. It'll be live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the same time we go live every single week. So if you enjoy our show, and we know you do because we've been listening and watching the numbers go up, join us every week for a lot of fun. We call ourselves the epitome of pop culture for a reason, and we're one of the prominent voices in the fandom menace, which represents all of us in the community who are fed up with entertainment, so we make our own. And we've had great success, and we'd like to thank everybody who's made it a possibility. So folks, I'm out of here. I'm going to head to bed. It's late when I'm recording this, and I got a lot of shit to do the next day, like finish the comic book. So while I'm busy working, and you're out there working and doing your thing, I have one favor, one request, a small request, but it carries a lot of weight. And you know what that is if you watch our videos. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. And that request is simply, go out into the world and be excellent to each other.